So in this video, we're going to look at parallel and perpendicular lines. So we're going to look at finding the equation of a parallel or perpendicular line based on another line that we have. So the first thing we need to be able to do is establish what is parallel, what is perpendicular. So we're going to do this on a graph. So in this graph here, we have the pink and the blue line. They are parallel, they are the same distance apart, and they never intersect. A perpendicular line is when two lines intersect and they form a 90-degree angle. So these two cross and they will form a perfect 90-degree angle. So if we look at the equation of the line just in a little bit more detail, so if it goes to parallel lines, we have y equals 2x plus 4 and y equals 2x minus 1. And then with the perpendicular lines, I have y equals 2x plus 4 and I have y equals a half x plus 1. So what does that mean when it comes to the equation of a line? Well, if you look at the actual equations, my parallel lines, I can see that they have the same slope. But if you look at my perpendicular lines, they have the negative reciprocal of the slope. So if we were given that my slope was 2, the negative reciprocal is going to be negative 1 over 2. If you don't know what this word means, I am going to go over it in the video a little bit later on. But that is the difference between the two. If you know that something is parallel, they would have the same slope. If they are perpendicular, it's the negative reciprocal. So let's have a look at a question. So we're going to start with parallel. So if I have to write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3x minus 2, which is on the graph, but passes this point here, I know that I'm going to draw a line that is the same distance apart all the way. So I know the slope or the gradient is the same. So y equals 3x plus c. It gave me an ordered pair, so I'm going to substitute that in. So negative 1 equals 3 multiplied negative 1 plus c. And then just like in previous videos, I can solve this question. So then add 3 to both sides. So 2 equals c. And that is the equation of my line. Y equals 3x plus 2. So if I go to my y-intercept, which is 2, and I do rise over run, I'm going to rise by 3 and I'm going to run by 1. And that will give me the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3x minus 2. So that's parallel lines. So if you know the slope, super easy. If I didn't know the slope of this line, I would have to work it out first, but then I would do the same steps and substitute them in. Right, now we're going to look at perpendicular, okay? So we talked about the negative reciprocal. So what does the negative reciprocal mean? So if I'm given the slope in one line, the negative reciprocal means something that you multiply this by, so your answer is negative 1. So what we do is we take the number, we find the reciprocal, which means you flip it if it's a fraction, and we're going to change the sign to a negative. Because if I multiply them together, my answer would be negative 1. And I'll give you some examples. So let's say I have the number 2. This is my slope. My negative reciprocal is going to be negative 1 over 2. Because all integers we can write over 1. If I multiply them together, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then 1 times 2 is 2. If I simplify that, my answer is negative 1. I'll give you another example. If I had negative 2 over 3 was my gradient or my slope, if I find the negative reciprocal to that, it's going to be 3 over 2. So because this is negative, this is now going to be positive. If I multiply them together, I'm going to have negative 6 over 6, which is negative 1. And that's how you know if something's perpendicular. If you multiply their slopes together, your answer will be negative 1. So in this question here, it gave me the same line, y equals 3x minus 2, but I have to find the line that is perpendicular through this point. So the first thing I need to work out then is my slope. If the slope for the line is 3x, then my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1 over 3, because it's got to be the negative reciprocal. So y equals negative 1 over 3x plus b. I'm going to substitute this point in, which is 3 and 1. So 1 equals negative 1 over 3 times 3 plus b. Negative a third times by 3 is just going to be negative 1 plus b. Add 1 to both sides and we get 2 equals b. So that is the equation of my line. Y equals negative 1 over 3x plus 2. So if I go to my y-intercept, which is 2, and I do rise over run, I'm going to rise by 1 and go to the left 3 because it's negative. Or I could just plot the y-intercept and the point in question, which is 3 and 1, and I could just join them together. Them two lines now are perpendicular, they intersect at a 90-degree angle.